The death penalty. It's the law in 28 states and the federal government. Over 2,600 murderers sit on death row across the country, with the average stay being over 20 years. So why does it take so long to execute someone? Part of the reason is procedural. Guilty killers have many avenues of appeal, and defense lawyers can drag out that process even further. But in a growing number of states, those who've exhausted all their legal options still can't be executed. Why not? Because it's become impossible to obtain the essential drugs to administer the preferred method, lethal injection. Governments rely on private manufacturers for their supply, but the pharmaceutical industry has banned the sale of their products to prisons for carrying out the sentences. This tactic has allowed opponents of the death penalty to effectively abolish it in places where it enjoys broad support. If lethal injection can't do the job, then it needs to be replaced. But there's no need to invent a new method when there's already one that works: the electric chair. That may surprise you, given how the chair is portrayed by the media. Yet not only does it work well, but the chair actually works better than lethal injection. Here's 5 reasons why. Reason number 1, the electric chair is painless. Now, anyone who's ever been tased might be skeptical. After all, getting shocked can be painful. So does that mean being executed by electricity must also hurt? Not at all. Think of it this way. While being hit by a bullet can be really painful, that doesn't mean a fatal headshot also hurts. Since both electricity and bullets travel faster than nerve impulses, either will cause instant unconsciousness when passed directly through the brain, rendering the person incapable of sensing pain. It's just like flicking off the light switch. And unlike the firing squad, electricity doesn't leave a gruesome mess. In the meat industry, electric current is often used to stun animals just prior to slaughter. Even the Humane Society supports this practice because it prevents the animals from suffering any pain. And there's plenty of scientific data to back it up. The electrical surge scrambles brain activity by disrupting its network as the current flows. Lethal injection can also be painless, but only if the prisoner remains sedated, which is by no means certain, because the anesthetic can and has worn off during a number of executions. If the condemned wakes up during the execution, then he will be aware that he's slowly suffocating because his lungs are paralyzed. He will also feel like acid is being poured through his veins due to the corrosive nature of the chemicals. While the Constitution doesn't guarantee painless executions, it does protect against torture. Since the electric chair always guarantees instant unconsciousness, making it impossible for the condemned to suffer, it can't be struck down as cruel and unusual punishment. Reason number 2, the electric chair is fast. The electric chair swiftly kills the condemned in 2 ways. The high voltage shuts down the brain itself by destroying its cells within moments. The current also causes irreversible cardiac arrest by passing through the heart, basically acting like a reverse defibrillator. When done properly, it's remarkably efficient, resulting in death within mere seconds. Lethal injection, on the other hand, is never done that quickly. In even the best executions, it can take at least 10 minutes for death to occur. In the worst cases, it's taken over 2 grueling hours until the condemned finally succumbed to the drugs. And all the while, the prisoner gasped and writhed on the gurney, which leads to reason number 3. The electric chair is clinical. The media portrays the electric chair as some barbaric device which makes the inmate convulse like an epileptic having a seizure. Yet as with many things, Hollywood makes up stuff for drama. In truth, electrocution is quite uneventful to watch. When the jolt hits, the body will stiffen as every muscle tightens. The condemned then freezes in that same rigid position for as long as the cycle lasts. There is no other movement. When the power is turned off, the body simply goes limp. That's it. Electrocution is a very controlled and precise procedure. In the past, the electric chair had one main problem. When electricity passes through something that has resistance, heat is produced. It's the same concept behind how a toaster or a light bulb works. The greater the resistance, the more heat that's generated. A wet sponge will dramatically reduce the level of resistance and allow more current to flow. Yet with so much energy involved, heat is still released, and the metal absorbs much of this waste heat. If the metal gets too hot, it can turn the moisture to steam. And if too much water evaporates and the sponge gets too dry, then it can smoke or even burn. All of this can be avoided with some basic engineering. Just like a car has a radiator, the electric chair needs a cooling system so it doesn't overheat. By blowing cold air over the cables, it would keep the temperature low. In doing so, it would prevent any steam, smoke, or burning. This one change would perfect the electric chair as a method of execution. In contrast, lethal injection is much harder to control. As pharmacists can attest, not everyone reacts to certain drugs in the same way. Various factors, such as body mass, age, health profile, and genetics, can widely affect what happens. In some executions, the condemned appear to fall asleep. Other times, the prisoners gagged, heaved, winced, and spasmed for many minutes. Despite its medical facade, lethal injection has proven unpredictable on many occasions. Reason number 4. The electric chair is simple. It doesn't take specialized knowledge or skill to administer. From a technical standpoint, it's no more complicated than hooking up jumper cables to a car battery. The current strength and duration are regulated by computerized systems, with the executioner only pressing the button to start the automatic cycle. There's little room for human error. By its very nature, lethal injection requires medical expertise to perform. Setting the IV lines in a healthy person's veins can be challenging by itself. It can prove almost impossible for prisoners who've abused hard drugs like heroin and ruin their veins. If the needle isn't inserted properly, it can pierce muscle or tissues instead, meaning that the fatal chemicals won't circulate through the bloodstream. Those best trained for the task, doctors and nurses, are ethically prohibited from participating in executions. This leaves the job to amateurs, which is unwise to say the least. Reason number 5. The electric chair is reliable. Electricity is common and not vulnerable to private monopolies. Any state can power its own electric chair with a generator. This point can't be overstated. So long as lethal injection is used, activists can grind the death penalty to a halt. Even though they can't end it democratically, they can resort to guerrilla tactics so it can't be used. That's why lethal injection is such a poor choice. It depends upon the cooperation of private industries, who have been pressured by protesters into opposing it. The criminal justice system should no longer be held hostage and subject to the political whims of drug companies. It needs to regain independence to function. We need a trusted way to carry out the law. For justice delayed is justice denied, and the electric chair is the best way to deliver that justice. If you agree, then make your voice heard and sign the petition to Repower justice. A gun without bullets is useless, and that's what lethal injection has become. Tell our leaders to make the death penalty work again and bring back the chair. We owe it to the victims and their families.